Welcome students to this session on operations research. In this session, we will be discussing about the critical path estimation in critical path method or in CPM. In the previous session, we have already seen the network analysis, the guidelines to be followed when we draw a network, the rules in network constructions, difference between CPM, that is critical path method, and program evaluation and review technique, PERT, different terms associated with network analysis, what is an event, what is an activity, what is critical path. We have seen each of these terms, we have discussed each of these terms, and in this session we will be continuing with the same discussions, and we will be extending our discussions now to the critical path estimation. If a particular case, if a particular list of activities with a precedence relationship is given, activities which constitute a particular project, if the activities and the precedence relationships and their respective completion times, activity completion times are known, then we can represent these activities of the project in the form of a network, and this network can be utilized for the estimation of critical path. Let us see how we represent a particular CPM problem or a case and determine the project estimation time through critical path estimation. Let us take a problem. A project consists of following activities and the single time estimates are given below. Find the project completion time, capital TE. Draw the network for the given project and find the project completion time. So this table lists 8 activities. Activities A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H. There are totally 8 activities with the precedence relationship and the expected times of the individual activities. For example, activity A will be a start activity because there is no preceding activity, and A expected time of activity A is expected time of completion is 3 days. Similarly, activity B also doesn't have any preceding activity and it takes its expected completion duration or time is 4 days. Similarly, you can see here C has a preceding activity, that is C has A as its preceding activity, that C can start only when A is complete. Similarly, D can start only when A is complete. So this preceding relationship has been already discussed in the previous session or in the previous video. So we'll just take those discussions forward in this particular video, in this particular session, extend it from our previous video to this session and solve the problem. Similarly, activity E can start only when C is complete. Similarly, F can start only when D is complete and G can start when B is completed. So this preceding activity here shows this activity. These activities have to be completed for the succeeding activity to start. So these are all the succeeding activities, successors to these preceding activities. Similarly, if you come to H, you can see here E, F, G, 3 activities. There are 3 preceding activities. So all of these three, all three E, F, G should be complete. Only then H can start. And this 3 days here is the total expected time or the expected time of the activity H, expected time of completion of activity H. So using these details, this data, we have to now construct a network for the given project and find the project completion time. So based on the data given in the table, the network diagram has been drawn, keeping in mind the precedence relationship of activities. You can see here in the network diagram, activity A has a completion time of 3, that is activity A's total expected time is 3, activity C expected time is 5, activity B has an expected time of 4. You can see all the activities are represented by arrows here. As discussed in our previous session, all these circles represent the nodes. The numbers written in the nodes represent the events, and the alphabets written on top of these arrows represent the activities. So all activities are represented as arrows. The events are numbered in the nodes, and each event is the start or the end of any particular activity. For example, if A is an activity with an expected time of 3 days, 1 will be the event start activity A. Similarly, 2 will be the event end activity or finish activity A. Now, since event does not consume time, the end of activity A, the end event of activity A will become the start event of the next activity. Because we have seen in the previous discussion, in the previous video, activities will consume time, whereas events do not consume time. So here 1 represents start activity A, 2 represents end activity A. Now, similarly, when you consider activity 2 to 4 or activity C, 2 now becomes at this particular point C will start. So it is the start of activity C. Start of activity C, and 4 now becomes the end of activity C, and so on. So in this network diagram, keeping in mind all the precedence relationships, activities are drawn on arrows, events are represented in the nodes. This is the start of the project. So this particular point here, this is the start of the project, and this is the end of the project. Start and end of the project. Always this is the start, this is the start of the project, this is the start of the project, because you can see here both the activities starting here, that is A and B, don't have any preceding activities. Activities A and B don't have any preceding activities, so they become the start activities, and this is the end or the finish of the project. Finish of the project. So please remember, the project is complete only when all the activities are completed. You can say the project is complete only when all the activities are completed. So your objective now is to find the critical path. The network diagram has been shown. You can see here in the network diagram all the activities are shown. The activity C here, according to the precedence relationship given, can only start when A is complete. Similarly, activity D can start only when A is complete, because C and D are dependent on A. So C and D can only start when A is complete. Similarly, if you consider activity F, F can start only when D is completed. So this particular network diagram is drawn taking into consideration the precedence relationships given in the table shown in the previous slide. Now, all these times here written below the arrows or above, say for example this 3 here represents the total expected time of A. So total expected time of completion of activity A is 3 days, that of B is 4 days, of C it is 5 days, D 6 days, of F it is 8 days, expected time of completion of activity G is 9 days, expected completion time of activity E is 7 days, and that of H is 3 days. So all these are written in the near the arrow. These represent the expected time of the completion of the activities. Now, if we have to now find the critical path, we have seen critical path is the minimum time required to complete the project, because you are now interested in finding the optimal time of completion for the project. So the minimum time required to complete the project is the critical path. So always when we want to determine the critical path, there are two methods here. One is the direct path method, finding out the different paths from start to finish. So we will first discuss about that. So this is the start of the project. This is the finish. Just trace out what are the different paths from start to finish. From start to finish, follow a path from start to finish, taking into account the activities coming in that particular path. Now, if you look at the network diagram, you can identify the first path as 1 to 2, 2 to 4, or 4 to 6, 6 to 7. That is 1 to 2, that is A, C, E, and H. A, C, E, H, or 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, or A, C, E, H. Add up all the individual activity types. That will be 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 3, that will come to 18 days. So the first path which is identified is ACEH, or 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, which gives you 18 days. Now if you take the next path, again 1 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7, or ADFH, that is ADFH. If you add all the individual activity times, 3 plus 6 is 9, 9 plus 8 is 17, 17 plus 3 is 20, 20 days. The third path that you can trace is 1 to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 7. That is B, G, and H. B, G, and H, that is 1, 3, 6, 7. 1, 3, 6, 7, B, G, H. That will be 4 plus 9 is 13, 13 plus 3 is 16. So you can see here the first path 18 days, second path 20, third is 16 days. Now we have defined critical path as the minimum project completion time. Now looking at the network diagram, also considering the fact that a project can be complete only when all activities are completed, your critical path will be now that particular path from start to finish, which is maximum, which is maximum. So the maximum amongst these paths now will be the minimum time required to complete the project. Maximum amongst all these paths will be the minimum time required to complete the project. So in this case, you can see here this 20 is the maximum. So this particular 20. So this particular path here 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, that is ADFH, with a timing of 20 days will be your critical path, and the total expected time of completion of the project will be 20 days. So there is a common confusion sometimes. How can the maximum path be the minimum time required to complete the project? Yes, so the maximum path amongst all the three paths from start to finish will indeed be the minimum time required to complete the project. Why? Because if you consider any other paths, all the activities will not be completed. And if all activities are not completed, you cannot say that the project is complete. So the maximum amongst all the paths from start to finish will be the minimum time required to complete the project, because the maximum path will ensure you that all the activities are completed. Only the maximum path here from start to finish will ensure you that all the activities drawn here in the network or activities specified will be completed. So when all the activities are completed, in that you can have different completion times. So when all the activities are completed, the minimum time required to complete the project is 20 days. So always when you choose the maximum amongst the paths, that will be the minimum time required to complete the project. So in this case, your total expected time of completion of the project will be 20 days. will be 20 days. That will be 20 days. 20 days. So we can now mark the critical activities. So what are the activities coming in the critical path now? If I consider path ADFH, activity A, just highlight it, activity A. Next D, activity D. Next comes activity F, and then activity H. So these are now the critical activities, or in other terms, critical activities are those activities where you cannot delay the activities beyond their expected times. So all these activities cannot be delayed by even 1 second. Because if any of these critical activities are delayed, that will affect your project completion time of 20 days. So you don't want to do that. You may be a consultant who has planned and who has told your customer that the project can be completed in 20 days, and then you're told that these are the critical paths, and you don't want your customer to be dissatisfied. No? You have committed 20 days for the completion of the project. So if these critical activities are not carried out according to the schedule, they will now cause a delay in the entire project. So that is the meaning of these critical activities. Whereas non-critical activities, there is a permissible range or permissible amount which we call as slack, which can be attributed or which can be given to these particular activities. That is called as a slack time, slack activity slack. So for all non-critical activities, slight delay is permissible, but that slight delay is based on the slack value. We'll see what is slack in the next discussion. So here, this is one method, the maximum path method, and second method which we are going to now study now is the earliest start and latest start method. So there is another method of finding out the critical path, and this is one method. This is a shortcut method. It's called as a different paths. You are tracing the different paths and the maximum path from start to finish, that is the critical. Those are that is the critical path, and the activities lying in the critical path are critical activities, and the time, expected completion time associated with that critical path will become your expected completion time of the project. So in this case, 20 days is your expected completion time of the project. Now let us see the next method, which is called as the earliest start and latest start method. That is the earliest start. We denote earliest start by ES and the latest start by LS. ES stands for the earliest start of any activity, LS stands for the latest start of the activity. So let us now look at the next method, which is called as the earliest start and the latest start. Now, considering the same activity here, let us now see in the previous calculations we have got an expected time of 20. Now let us see that you now don't know, you are not now sure about what is the expected time. Now we don't know what is the expected time, so we'll just delete this. Right now we don't know what is the expected time. We are using another method now, which is called as the earliest start and the latest start method. So in the earliest start, what you are going to do is, first, for every activity you will find out what is the earliest that particular activity can start. So if you consider activity A now, the starting activities A and B, the start activities A and B will not have or will have a earliest start of 0 because they don't have any preceding activities. So the first two activities, since they do not have any preceding activities, that is A and B, will have earliest start values of 0. So earliest start of A will be 0, and similarly the earliest start of B will also be 0. Next, you have to see the earliest start of C. Earliest start of C. Now the earliest start of C will be, just look at its preceding activity. What is the preceding activity of C? That is A. So the earliest start of C will be the earliest start of the preceding activity. You can see here earliest start ES of any activity is equal to the earliest start of the preceding activity plus the preceding activity time. Preceding activity time. So since A and B have no preceding activities, the earliest start of A is equal to 0 and earliest start of B is also equal to 0. Next, the earliest start of C will be the earliest start of the preceding activity A plus the activity A duration time. So if I consider now C here, if I consider C, the preceding activity is A. The earliest start of A I have already seen, it's 0, already calculated it as 0. So that 0 plus this activity timing of A, 0 plus 3. So the earliest start of C will be earliest start of A plus activity A duration time, that is 0 plus 3, which is equal to 3. Similarly, the earliest start of D, earliest start of D will be, again D has a preceding activity of A, so the earliest start of A is 0 and activity time is 3. So again it will be 0 plus 3, which is equal to 3. If you go to now activity E now, activity E. Now the earliest start of activity E will be the earliest start of the preceding activity plus the preceding activity time. So the earliest start of C plus activity C duration time. So earliest start of C is, already you have seen, it is 3. So 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. 8. Similarly, the earliest start of F is equal to ES of D plus activity D duration time, that is 3 plus 6 is equal to 9. So we will calculate now the earliest start for each of these particular activities. I will just show you a sample calculation here. For example, if I say for activity E, I'll just indicate all the earliest start times here on top of the arrows. This is earliest start time, earliest start, and this is the latest start. We are now discussing only about the earliest start. The earliest start of A is 0. Already we have found out it is 0 because it's the initial activity. Now, when you are finding out the earliest start for C, earliest start for C, that will be the earliest start of A plus the activity timing of A. So 0 plus 3 will be 3. Will be 3. That is already given here. The earliest start of C is given as 3. Similarly, when you calculate the earliest start of E, it will be 3 plus 5 because 3 is the earliest start of C and 5 is the activity timing of C. So 3 plus 5 will be 8. Similarly, you will carry out this for all the other activities. Similarly, you will carry out this for all other activities. If I say B now, if I go to B, B again has earliest start of 0. Earliest start of 0. Similarly, earliest start of F will be, or earliest start of D will be again 3. Earliest start of D will be 3. Earliest start of F will be 6 plus 3, that is 9. Earliest start of F is 9. Earliest start of G will be, the earliest start of G 0 plus 4, that will be 4. That will be 4. Now, when you consider activity H, now there will be a slight, you have to now just sharpen your thought process here. When we consider activity H here, you can see there are three preceding activities. There are three preceding activities before H. One is activity E, another is activity F, and activity G. So all these activities have to be completed before H can start. H can start only when all three E, F and G can be completed. So when you calculate the earliest start time of H, you will have three values amongst which you have to decide which is the earliest start. Mathematically, we are talking mathematically. We are talking about mathematical calculations. So if I consider H, and I consider E as the preceding activity, if I consider E, earliest start 8 plus 7, I will have a value of 8 plus 7, that is 15. This value, this value. Similarly, if I consider now activity F, it will be 9 plus 8, that will be 17. We'll have a value of 17. Value of 17. And if I consider G, it will be 9 plus 4, 13. 9 plus 4 will be 13. So if such a case happens, whenever you are finding an earlier start for a activity which has more than one preceding activities, you calculate the ES plus the individual activity timings for all three preceding activities, all the n number of preceding activities, and choose the highest amongst these. So out of these three values, you can see here 17 is the highest. 17 is the highest corresponding to F. So your earliest start for H will not be 15, nor it will be 13, it is 17. Now that is from the point of view of mathematics, mathematical calculation. All of you are engineers, so you have to think as an engineer now. Why is this highest value considered? Now practically speaking, why we are considering this is the condition for H to start is all three activities should finish at all three preceding activities E, F, G should be complete before H can start. Now think about E. E will be complete by the 15th day. Or let us start with G. G will be complete by 9 plus 4, 13th day. But can H start? Even though G is the preceding activity of H, H cannot start because there are two more activities which have to be completed for it to start. So at the end of the 13th day, only activity G will be complete. Activity E still has 2 more days to complete because it will be complete by the end of the 15th day. Activity F has another 4 days to complete because it will be complete only by the end of the 17th day. So what you are going to do here? You wait. Activity G will wait. Similarly, next E will be complete by the 15th day. Then can H start? No, because only G and E are complete. F is yet pending. F is yet to finish. So H cannot start. H can only start when all G, E, F are complete. So at the end of the 13th day, only G will be complete. So H cannot start. At the end of the 15th day, G and E will be complete. H cannot start. At the end of the 17th day, all three activities E, F, G will be complete. So H can start. So that is the practical meaning of this. So mathematically, yes, the highest value. You can do it mathematically. Just remember highest value when you are calculating ES and start calculating. But when you think as engineers, why that 17? All of you should answer that. Why this highest value? This is the uh, practical interpretation of this. Why? Because all three activities have to be completed. So the highest of these values will ensure that all the three activities are complete. So activity H can start. So the earliest start of H is 17 days and it takes 3 days of time. Earliest that H can start is 17 days. It takes another 3 days of time. So your expected completion time is 20. Your expected completion time TE will be 20 days. TE will be 20 days. Now your problem is not complete here. You have just done 50% of the job. Now you have to find the critical path. To find out the critical path, you have to now find the latest start. Always your earliest start is found from left to right. That is from start to finish. That is from start to finish. Whereas your latest start calculations will always be from right to left. That is from finish to start. Finish to start. Correct? So always your latest start calculations will start from the finish to the start. So again, let us now calculate what is the latest start for each activity. So when we calculate the latest start, so let us just see here, the earliest start we had actually calculated previously, so it was 0, earliest start was 0 here. Similarly for B also it was 0, earliest start was 0. For C the earliest start was 0 plus 3, 3. For D also it was 3. For G it was 4. For F it was 9. For E earlier start was 8. And for H we had 3 values, 15, 17 and 13. So the highest of this you have to take, so 17, and 17 plus 3 you have got an expected time of 20. So when you calculate the latest start now the latest start of any activity is given by the latest start of the succeeding activity minus the activity time. The latest start of the succeeding activity minus its activity time. So for the last activity H, since it doesn't have any succeeding activity, so this 20, what you are doing is this 20 minus this 3, so that will be 17. So the latest start for activity H will be 17 days. 17 days. Now for all other activities, you can calculate the latest start by the formula LS is equal to latest start of any activity is equal to the latest start of the succeeding activity minus activity time. So since H is the last activity, LS of H will be the total expected time of completion of the project minus activity H duration, that is 20 minus 3, that is 17 days. Now what about activity E? LS or the latest start of activity E. The latest start of activity E will be the latest start of the succeeding activity H minus activity E duration. So if I have to calculate now the latest start of E, the latest start of E will be the latest start of H, that is 17, minus this activity time 7, this activity time of E. Again I am repeating, the latest start of E will be the latest start of the succeeding activity H, that is 17, minus the activity timing of E. So that is LS of E is equal to LS of H minus activity E duration, that is 17 minus 7 is equal to 10. That will be 10. So 17 minus 7, 10. 10. This will be the latest start of E. Similarly, the latest start of F will be 17 minus 8, that is 9. Similarly, the latest start of G will be 17 minus 9, that will be 8. Similarly, the latest start of D will be 9 minus 6, that is 3. Similarly, the latest start of C will be 10 minus 5, 10 minus 5, that will be 5, 5, 10 minus 5, 5. Similarly, the latest start of B will be 8 minus 4, that will be 4. And now the latest start of A. So again, whenever you're finding the latest start from right to left, whenever any activity has two succeeding activities, for example here, since A has two succeeding activities, the latest start of A will be the lowest of, you can see here, since activity A has two succeeding activities, LS of A will be the lowest of LS of C and LS of D, that is LS of C minus activity A duration, that will be 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. LS of D minus activity A duration, 3 minus 3 is equal to 0. It will be 0, lowest of these two values. Again the logic is same like we have already seen when calculating earlier start. Whenever you are calculating earlier start, whenever there are more than one values, go for the highest. When you are going for the latest start calculations, go for the lowest. Always keep in mind, when you find out ES values, if there are more than one values, go for the highest value, when you are calculating the latest start, go for the least value. So in this case, when you are considering the latest start of A, latest start of A, latest start time of activity A, we have two succeeding activities C and D. If you consider C, you get a value of 2. If you consider D, you get a value of 0. So lowest of this is 0. So the latest start of A will be 0. So now looking at this particular network, identify those activities where your LS and ES values are equal. Wherever your LS and ES values are equal, those activities will be your critical activities for this network. For all critical activities, or that path where all the activities LS is equal to ES or earlier start is equal to later start, those activities will be critical. So here you can see activity A has ES and LS values equal. That is, this is the ES value, and on the right hand side it is LS. See, all activities whichever has ES and LS values equal, you can see activity A, ES is equal to LS. Activity D, E is equal to LS. Activity F, E is equal to LS. H, E is equal to LS. All are activities which have earlier start equal to later start, or in other words, for all activities where LS minus ES, we call it as the slack of the activity. The difference between ES and LS is called the slack of the activity. For all activities where slack is equal to 0, for all activities which have slack is equal to 0, those activities will be the critical activities. Please keep in mind, for all critical activities, so this will be the condition for the critical activities, critical path or the critical activities. Those activities where slack is 0, slack is LS minus ES. That means permissible delay in any one of these activities is 0. Whereas if you see the non-critical activities, see here, activity C, ES is 3, LS is 5. So there is a difference of 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. So activity C, even if there is a delay of 2 days in this non-critical activity, it will not cause any delay in the entire project completion. Similarly, if I consider B or G, you can see there is a slack of 4 days. So B and G can be delayed by 4 days, without affecting this total expected time of 20. That is the practical meaning of slack of a particular activity. So once again, note, for all activities in the critical path or for all critical activities, slack is equal to 0. For all non-critical activities, there is a slack which is attributed to that particular activity, and that particular activity, non-critical activity, can be delayed, say in emergencies. Not always, it's always not a good practice to delay, but sometimes if some situations will demand a delay in a particular activity, first find out. If someone says, can I delay activity C by say 1 day, the person who is in charge of activity C says, can I take 1 more day for completion of activity C? Immediately check whether activity C is a critical activity or not. If that activity is a critical activity, straight away tell, no, not possible, because it's a critical activity. No permissible delay is possible there. No delay is permissible. Whereas in this case, it is C which is under consideration. C doesn't fall under the critical path. So, and that also 1 day. 1 day is what is asked for C, 1 day delay. The slack for C is 2 days, 5 minus 3. 1 comes within that particular range. So you can say fine, okay, delay, no problem, delay it, but keep in mind that the project completion should not be affected. So if it falls under the non-critical activities, if it does not come on the critical path, you can always keep that buffer, that slack amount, in cases of emergency. So this is the uh, evaluation or the estimation of critical path in CPM networks. You can see here both the methods, ES and LS method, this particular method which we have solved now, and also the different paths, maximum path method. Both have given you the same critical path, both have given the same critical path with the same total expected time of 20 days. But this method is more practical in nature. For example, if someone asks you what is the status of the project at the end of the 18th day, the previous method, the maximum path method, will not give you an indication where your project is actually. But this particular method, you can seeing the network diagram and seeing the earliest start and latest start, you can tell at the end of the 18th day, the last activity H has started and it will take another 2 days to complete. You can say that all other activities except H are completed. H is under progress. At the end of the 18th day, it will take another 2 days to complete the project. So this gives a better uh, interpretation of the actual situation than the uh, maximum path method. This is summary of the network, this particular problem. Based on the calculations here, you can see the different paths on the critical path. You can either indicate the critical path in this fashion, or you can use double arrows. This is how you highlight the critical activities, or you can just indicate these critical activities with double arrows. That is also possible by double arrows. On the activities, just draw a double arrow so that you differentiate between the critical and the non-critical activities. This table shows you the summary. You can see here earlier start and later start of each activity is given. The slack values are also given. The slack values are given here. You can see here wherever the slack is 0 is indicated in red here. You can see here those are the critical activities ADFH. These are the critical activities for the project under consideration. So in the next session or in the next video, we will be discussing about a similar problem where a dummy is involved. A dummy is an activity which is introduced into the network to just maintain net precedence relationships. Sometimes when you draw a network, certain conditions specified may not be logically represented. So in that case, you add a artificial or a fictitious activity, an activity which is not actually present, but is just added in the network to make your calculations easier. Make your calculations easier. So that dummy will have a time of 0 because it's not an actual dummy, it's not a practical activity at all. It will be shown as a dotted line in the network. So we'll see that in the next session. For the time being, please practice this problem on your own. Once you understand, see the video and try to solve this particular problem on your own, and then let us proceed with a dummy activity, a particular problem with a dummy activity in the next session. Thank you.